Hey guys, Brad Danger here. And Ford, yes, Ford just wheeled a four-door Mustang into a room full of dealers in Las Vegas, told them that it'll do 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds, cost less than 40 grand, and give backseat passengers more legroom than a Porsche Panamera. I've heard a lot of insane car rumors this year. This one might be the first that's actually true. So, like, subscribe so we hit 2 mil by the end of the year. Go to winthisIdealcar.com to get entered to win your dream car. And let's back up, because this thing has been floating around since 2022, when Ford dropped the S650 Mustang, the current one. Buried in the press kit was a sketch of a four-door version. Nobody talked about it much. Then in 2024, Ford put out an actual rendering. Then last year, they trademarked the name Mach 4, and now, according to Auto News, they just showed dealers a real prototype standing in the metal in Vegas. Multiple people in that room who didn't want their names used said it looked and felt like a Panamera. Think about it for just 1 second. Ford's pony car brand, the one that's supposed to be a coupe and buy with your first real paycheck, just got compared to a $120,000 Porsche sedan by dealers, guys whose entire job is knowing exactly what a car is actually worth. So what is it? Executives reportedly told the room it'll start under $40,000, hit 60 in under 4 seconds, and beat a Panamera on rear seat room. If that all pans out, that is an absurd amount of car for the money. I mean, I want to believe it. I also want to see it happen before I plan my whole video around a number some guy heard secondhand in a hotel conference room. Okay guys, and I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I will tell you that it's bigger than the last one. It's moving faster and you're going to love it. We already gave one winner his pick of a Fast and Furious Supra or a Shelby GT350. He took the Shelby. Another winner took home a flame-spitting R35 GTR. Another walked with 100 grand cash. Yes, real winners, real faces, no rigged wheels, no follow 12 influencers nonsense. This next giveaway is the best one yet. Links pinned below. Tap it, sign up, go look at the past winners and what they walked away with. It's closer than you think. All right, back to the show. Here's what makes me think that there's actually something real under the hood, and not just a marketing fart in the wind. Motor Trend is reporting the Mach 4 rides on a stretch version of the S650 platform, the same rear-wheel drive bones under the current Mustang. That is not the electric skateboard platform from the Mach E, and it's not the underpinnings from Ford's new Fathom truck either, which is what everybody assumed a year ago. It's a real Mustang chassis, stretched out and given 2 more doors. That matters because a stretched S650 keeps this thing rear-wheel drive and it keeps the actual Mustang engine on the table. We're talking a 2.3-liter EcoBoost 4-cylinder as the base motor and a 5-liter Coyote V8 up top with room for a high-output version above that. And Motor Trend is saying the V8 could come with a manual transmission, a 3-pedal, 4-door Mustang with a Coyote V8 under the hood. If Ford actually builds that car, I will drive to the dealership myself. The one spec nobody is talking about in any of these reports is all-wheel drive, and that's a real problem if Ford is serious about this thing. There's no mention of it anywhere. If you're chasing Audi A5s or BMW 3 Series buyers, with multiple reports saying is the actual target here, all-wheel drive isn't a bonus feature. It's table stakes. Half the people cross-shopping a 3 Series check that box without even thinking twice. A rear drive only Mach 4 is going to be a blast to drive, and it's going to lose real sales if every snow belt state is anything with all-wheel drive sitting on the option list. Now here's where I lose some of you, because the second this story breaks, half the comments are always the same. Why is this called a Mustang? Why are they diluting the name again? And I get it. Especially after the Mach E. Slapping the Mustang badge on an electric crossover SUV that shares nothing with the actual car, that one stung. People felt like Ford took a name that meant something and glued it onto a grocery getter to sell more units. But a 4-door sedan built on an actual stretched Mustang platform with an actual Mustang engine sharing a rear-wheel drive layout is a completely different animal. This is closer to what the Charger used to be than it is a Mach E. If it drives like a Mustang and it's built like a Mustang, I don't personally care that it has 4 doors instead of 2. And honestly, calling this a wild departure ignores Ford's own history. The very first Mustang in 1964 was built on a Falcon platform, a sedan platform. Ford has been stretching and shrinking this formula into different bodies since day one. This isn't new. This is just Ford remembering how to do it. If you want to get mad about the name, get mad about the badge going on something that shares none of the character. Save the outrage for the next crossover, not for a proper rear-drive muscle sedan with a V8 option. And if Ford really wanted to lean into the nostalgia angle instead of a name that sounds like a men's body spray, they had better options sitting right there in the parts bin. Torino, Falcon, either one carries more weight than Mach 4. Now let's talk about who this thing is actually supposed to beat, because that tells you more about Ford's thinking than anything else in this story. A lot of people are assuming this is a Dodge Charger fighter. It isn't. Not directly. Dodge already has that segment locked down with the new Charger, which is adding a V8 back into the lineup alongside the 6-cylinder and the electric versions. The Mach 4 is aimed higher than that. Multiple reports point at Ford chasing down the Audi A5 and the BMW 3 Series, cars that live in the $35,000 to $50,000 range and sell to people who want a fast, good-looking sedan that isn't a crossover. That's a real gap in the market right now, and it's the exact same lane the Kia Stinger used to own before Kia killed it off a couple years back. Rear drive quick 4-doors under 50 grand. That whole space has basically been sitting empty. If Ford builds this thing right, that's the customer they're going after. Chevy apparently knows it too. GM is reportedly working on their own 4-door Camaro revival, rear-wheel drive, gas-powered, same basic pitch as the Mach 4. So if both of these actually happen, we're looking at Ford and GM going right back at each other in a segment that everybody declared dead about a decade ago. Detroit spent years telling us sedans don't sell. Crossovers are what people want. Nobody wants a trunk anymore, and now 2 of the big 3 might build rear-wheel drive muscle sedans within a year of each other. Make it make sense. And here's my actual problem with this whole thing, and it has nothing to do with the badge. It's the doors. Ford's own sketches and every spy photo rumor so far shows this car with a fastback roofline. That low, swoopy Mustang silhouette stretched over 4 doors. Fine. Looks great in a render. But if Ford gives this car a fastback roofline and then doesn't give it any actual hatchback opening, that's the dumbest design decision a manufacturer can make right now. I mean, you're already committing to the shape. You already have the sloped rear glass. Just make the whole thing lift up and give people the cargo space. Instead, half of these manufacturers build the silhouette of a hatchback and then bolt on a tiny trunk lid that opens like a regular sedan. And you get all the visibility problems of a fastback with none of the practicality of an actual liftback. If the Mach 4 pulls that move, I'm going to be furious, and I will make an entire separate video about it. Small rear doors are the other thing worth mentioning here. If Ford squeezes 4 doors onto a Mustang silhouette, there's a real chance those rear doors end up narrow and awkward just to preserve the coupe look. Narrow rear doors make the whole back seat feel like an afterthought, and if the legroom numbers on paper look good, a Panamera has this exact same problem and people still buy it, so maybe nobody actually cares. But I'd rather Ford commit to the practicality and let the design bend around it, instead of forcing a 2-door silhouette to awkwardly fit 4 doors just so it reads as a Mustang from 50 feet away. And can we kill this idea floating around that 4 doors somehow makes a car uncool? That's an old man's hang-up, not a universal truth. Anybody who grew up wanting a WRX or Evo grew up wanting 4 doors. Nobody cross-shopping a Civic Si or an old Maxima or a 510 thought the extra doors made the car less serious. If the Mach 4 actually happens, door count is not going to be what stops people from buying it. And while we're on the subject of things Ford probably won't build but should, a wagon version of this platform would move more copies than anyone at Ford seems willing to admit. Rear drive V8 option, real cargo room. Ford forgot wagons existed about a decade ago, and I doubt this is the car that reminds them. Okay, so let's zoom out for a second, because the bigger story here isn't about one car. It's about what Ford has turned into over the last several years. Right now, the Mustang is the only vehicle in Ford's North American lineup that isn't a truck or an SUV. One car, that's it. Everything else is an F-150 variant, a Bronco, an Explorer, an Escape, and now the electric Fathom. Ford killed the Fusion. Ford killed the Focus. Ford basically walked away from Ford of Europe while they were at it. And meanwhile, Toyota sold something like 320,000 Camrys in the US last year alone on a design that barely changed. Sedans didn't die. Ford just stopped showing up to sell them. So when I see Ford suddenly rediscovering that a stubborn core of buyers still want a normal car with a trunk, forgive me if I don't throw a parade. This is a company correcting a mistake that it made on purpose. Jim Farley has publicly said that he'd grow the Mustang family as long as any new versions keep the attitude and performance of the original. Cool. Then maybe you don't spend half the decade telling everyone sedans are dead while your competitors sell hundreds of thousands of them every year. There's also a pretty simple business logic under all of Ford's recent moves, and it's worth saying out loud instead of pretending this is all about passion for driving. Ford stopped chasing the margin commuter cars like the Focus and the Fusion and started leaning entirely on names people already have an emotional attachment to. Mustang, Bronco, now apparently a new performance truck called the Fathom. Passion badges sell at higher margins than boring commuter sedans ever did. That's not a conspiracy. That's just what the numbers say. Farley has called the current lineup the most passionate one Ford has ever had, and he's not wrong. But passionate and profitable aren't the same word. Ford is betting that slapping a legacy name on a new body style prints more money than building something honest and new. Sometimes the bet works. The original Mustang worked, the Mach-E is still a mixed bag of depending on who you ask. And that's really the test this car has to pass. Does the Mach 4 actually feel like a Mustang when you're in it? Or is it just a name Ford is borrowing because a brand new nameplate is a much harder sell in this market? If the car shows up with real rear-wheel drive dynamics, a Coyote V8 option, a manual gearbox, and actual attitude, then fine. I don't care what door count it has. If it shows up soft, quiet, and comfortable with a Mustang badge slapped on the trunk lid purely to move units off the lot, then it deserves every bit of the backlash it's about to get. Production reportedly starts sometime in 2028 or 2029, so we've got a couple of years of spy shots, camouflage prototypes, and probably at least one more dealer leak before this thing is official. I'll believe the 0 to 60 number when an actual journalist gets to drive it. I'll believe the sub $40,000 price from Ford when they print the actual window sticker. Until then, this is just a story about a car company remembering a little late that not everybody wants to buy a truck. If Ford actually pulls this off, and I hope they do, a rear-wheel drive four-door with a V8 and a stick for under 40 grand, that's one of the most interesting cars of this decade. If they screw it up, it's just like the Mach-E with a trunk. We'll find out about it in 3 years. Until then, I'll believe it when I see the window sticker. Now, what do you guys think? Are you gonna buy one if it's sub 40? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, go to winthisIdealcar.com to get entered to win your dream car plus cash. Like, subscribe so we hit 2 mil by the end of the year. Check out some of these Ideal vids. I'm Brad Danger. This is Ideal, and promise me one thing: keep living the ideal lifestyle.